Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Box interviews Jared from Void Madness. I am the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Box, and also Fresh Out the Podcast. That's where me and Jahan and our friend Drew talk about movies, video games, streaming shows. We have 113-ish episodes now available where all podcasts are available. So check out Fresh Out the Podcast. But that's not what we're here for today, is it?
That would be me. So as they said, I am Jared. I am the creator and lead designer of a new ttrpg, Void Madness. It is a sci-fi space horror ttrpg that I've been working on for the past too many years at this point. And I'm now finally letting the public know. You can check us out at voidmadness.com. I also have a podcast network, RubMurdersPodcastNetwork.com, where I talk about crazy stuff. So if you like me, check me out there.
Hell
Big
yeah.
fan of crazy stuff. I'll have to check that out.
Thanks for the raid as well. That's a good timing for a raid there. Reckonator, I believe that's Brad.
It is Brad.
What's up, Brad?
Hi, Brad.
How's it going? And all your viewers. Thank you so much.
And hello, all the viewers.
Hey, everybody.
They were probably just playing game show stuff. I think that's what they do over there. Last time I checked, they were doing some Jackbox type of stuff. I'm not sure what they're doing this week.
Oh, well then, Jared, come on down! Right? that we're doing.
Happy Honda days. Hell yeah. Dude.
All right, come on, guys. How much? How much? High or low?
You can get up to a 15% discount on your local Honda at your local Honda dealership. Happy Honda days.
Not a sponsor. Hey, so
I wish, bro. Could you imagine if we were sponsored by Honda? And I'm not talking
That's
about
how you know
guy
you made it.
I'm not talking about the guy from Street Fighter, but I would also accept it.
I would rather be sponsored by the guy from Street Fighter.
It seems like it'd be more fun.
So Jared, you're an indie TTRPG developer. We're gonna be talking about that primarily. Tell us more about that. How long you've been doing this? Do you have any other games that you've put out? And why TTRPGs? What? How do you feel about them?
I wish I can say that I had a bunch of games. It would be great to give you like a pedigree of just amazing stuff that I've done. But honestly, this is my first foray. I've been working in secret, honestly. I haven't told a single soul about this game for it was 3 years that I was just sitting in my room typing anytime a thought would pop into my brain. And just in the past year, I told my business partner about it nervously told him about it. I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm working on ttrpg. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, it's a sci-fi space horror game that has a lot to do with psychological, there's a psychological aspect to it. There's a lot of action, a lot of adventure. And he was like, that sounds dope. And I was like, cool. I thought you were going to call me a nerd. This is going way better than I thought.
It can be both dope and nerdy. Yeah, that's completely okay.
I like to think that it falls right in there. But yeah, so this is my first time actually working on TTRPGs. I own my own business. I'm in digital media. So it's not necessarily something that like crosses over. But I've always been a fan of TTRPGs. For years, I was always interested in it, and I had a terrible group of friends that made me feel bad for wanting to play them. So I never got to play them. And I was, and I always had like this weird social anxiety.
Let's talk about what's your first tabletop game you remember either receiving as a gift or buying or owning? What's sort of your first early memories of tabletop role-playing games?
Honestly, the first thing that I ever saw played was D&D. It was the first thing that I ever saw people role-playing in, like more than just like a board game.
Because back, are you like junior high age walking through a comic book shop or what? How did you come across this golden game?
The first time that I ever saw it, I was at a friend's house, and his older brother was playing it, and him and his friends were playing, and his older brother hated me, by the way. So it's not even like I was like, hey, I have it in there. But he hated me, but I was walking through their house. I went to the bathroom, came back out, and then I see all of them playing, and I was like, what are you guys doing? And they went, playing a game, and you're not invited. And I was like, okay, cool. So I just kind of walked up the stairs, and I was just listening to what they were doing, and I was like, that's cool. And then I was like, hey, what's your brother doing? He was like, oh, he's playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, cool. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, can we do that? And he was like, nah, it's for nerds. And I was like, cool, yeah, no.
Oh, yeah,
but I said I wanted to do that.
No, I didn't like it anyways.
Want to do that. Yeah, that totally wasn't of interest to me.
You mean
so yeah, that was my introduction.
You mean like playing characters and doing fun voices and going on adventures? Yeah, that sucks. You're right. That sounds stupid. Let's watch football.
All those things I see in movies and stuff. Yeah. Why would I want to do the things I see in movies? Like, that sounds terrible.
I love that. That's a great introductory story. Let's go from there. Let's go forward a few years. How did it become a hobby of yours or something that actually landed at your table?
It was a lot of years, actually. I had the same group of friends. I was one of those weird people that like made friends in grade school and then just kept them for until
what you mean
college.
I still have my same friends right now from 4th and 5th grade. We're in a group chat and we talk every day.
I have one that has survived. There was a mass culling of a near-death experience that turned into somehow I almost died, and then I had no friends after it. And I'm like, what happened?
No shit.
Yeah, it was crazy. That's beside the point, though. But so the culling happened. Lost a whole bunch of my friends, so I was left with, I had to find new friends. Found a couple new friends. They were more into it. And actually, the way that I got into tabletop RPGs in just like I started researching tabletop RPGs before I started playing them, where I started looking at systems and looking at the rules and looking at the classes and reading every PDF that I could. I really like researching stuff.
That's really cool.
And yeah, so before I was like, I want to do this hands-on.
No group, no books,
no nothing.
No dice, no nothing. You're just reading PDFs and trying to piece it together in your mind?
Yeah, so I started by doing that, and then I fell into a deep depression, actually, at one point. And I was just in a really bad day, really, really down. Nothing could cheer me up. And I was just flipping through YouTube, and I actually stumbled on Critical Role. And watching actual plays pulled me out of my depression. Like watching groups of friends be insane adventurers and have fun things that they did and like crazy antics that pulled me out of it. And I was like, oh, okay, there's so much more to this than
awesome.
just playing a game and wasting time. Like there's so many more levels to TTRPGs as a whole, as what they are is more than just a game. So that's what really got me hooked on them then. And then I started, I started talking to my friends about it. Then they were like, well, we've been playing for years. We play Cyberpunk, we play D&D, we play, we play Powered by the Apocalypse.
The little kid inside you is jumping up and down.
Yes.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
So I just started doing like little tiny, like I haven't done like a big game, like something where it's like a big sprawling campaign, but I've done like a lot of little one-shot things. Just because that's all anybody's ever had time for. But that's really it. But I'm the kind of person that way, if I love something to the point of an obsession, I go 100% in. And it was something where I was like, I couldn't find a game that scratched every itch for me. Where I was like, I want something that's sci-fi. I want something that's scary. I want something that has I was like, so I started looking at all these different systems, and I was like, all right, well, you have like your StarCraft, you have your Call of Cthulhu, you have, your like Monster of the Week. You have all these different things where I'm like, I like a little bit of that, I like a little bit of that, I like a little bit of that. There's no game that does all of that I can easily find and that convince my friends, hey, I know you've never heard of it. This is something that took me years to find. let's play this. So I was like, what if I just made something? And I've always been someone that liked writing and creating and world building. And when I was a kid, I wanted to make movies, and I either wanted to make movies or video games, and that's hard. So I was like,
hard, yeah.
yeah. So I literally was just like, what if I'm like, this might be something that I can do realistically. Like I have the mind for mechanics. I have the mind for world building. I think I can do it. And then I did it in secret, like I said. And then I finally told people, and they've been helping me out ever since.
We'll make movies with you, but that's not here now. So you're talking about your game, how it's a hodgepodge of these several other systems that you like a little bit of. So tell us like about the game, about the system, about what it is and how it feels.
Yeah, so the game is Void Madness. It is, like I keep saying, it's a sci-fi horror space opera TTRPG. It's set in the very distant future. I actually just yesterday, I'd say got like 85% done on my lore timeline. This game, the lore of it starts in 2655. So it's very far into the future. Basically, humanity was split into very large superpowers and kept doing what we're currently doing, which is, burning resources at a faster and faster and faster rate, until the point where resources were getting very, very scarce. So all the people that were in charge, of course, were like, nah, that's ours now. And all of that claiming led to a huge war. Fast forward a little bit, the world gets to a point where it's no longer sustainable for human life any longer. So human beings have to expand out into the void. You have to just go out, try to find a new home. Keeps going out. Human beings find what becomes referred to as the New Sol system, utopia system that has 5 livable planets. They settle those planets and then start continuing out. That's when they start meeting more alien races, intelligent, advanced alien races. And you pick up...
my attention. Did you just say alien races? Can I play as aliens in this?
As of the moment, and it's just because I have a mind for expansion. I'm trying to get humanity in line. I do plan in the future to, if this goes well, so fingers crossed, write an expansion that brings alien races into playable characters.
100% you can ask Jahan all the time. I want to play like a Starfinder-esque game. I want to play something in space with fantasy. That's what I want to do. So
Yeah.
you can't just be
And I
human. So
told
as soon
him
as
I'll
you say
do it,
alien,
so I have to do it eventually because he
as
keeps
soon as you
asking
said
me.
Hey.
alien, my ears perk up. I love that. I'm about that.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, I also didn't want to, like, because even though I said, like, it is humans, it is the future. So we actually, I expanded it out, and there's actually 3 subspecies of human. There's standard human, which is your standard human. But then there is cyborg, which are technologically infused humans. And then there are hybrids, which are people that are the descendants of people that had a fad genetic splicing surgery done that mixed them with animals. So they are part human, part animal. And there's a whole block of lore that I have written out for how that developed.
That excites the furry in me.
There's no furry in me, but I would be a gorilla guy. I would punch the shit out of somebody straight out of a ship. I would do that.
There's a
about
lot
that.
more furry in me than I'm comfortable admitting, honestly.
Sounds like you need
Everybody
to get
has
it
at
out.
least a little bit. There's a little bit of furry because every single person, even if you're like, I'm not fully into the whole furry thing, you could be like, I like werewolves though.
No, I saw
Well, yeah,
Gadget from Chip and Dale.
There's
Oh,
always
between that
Lola-
and Nala.
there's always Lola Bunny, man.
Well, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Can't
She's
forget
a
Lola
gateway.
Bunny.
She's a gateway drug.
I think there's a lot of people that agree with you on that one. But yeah, so this game basically takes place in a time where human beings are all over the galaxy, and there are, what is it? I'm trying to remember how many planets I created. 23 documented explorable planets throughout the galaxy, and that's not even including the planets that the alien races are from. Just in human space alone, there are 23 explorable planets, 5 core worlds, and then on top of that, 17 mega stations, which are humongous space stations.
Does each
So
one of those
this-
stations have different flavor to make it feel different than the last?
Yes, they actually are all they all specialize in something. So there's tons and tons of people that live on these stations, but at the same point, that station specifically focuses on being very, very good at one thing. So there's one station that's the head of commerce and trade. That's kind of the hub for the United Federation, which is the Human Federation. There's
Everything
one
there
that literally is
oversized and gilded in gold with plaques and all that.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah. So each one of them kind of has their own flavor. There's one that's the center. It's kind of like a cultural hub of art and music, and so it's very like imagine. Well, it's literally called New Rio. So it's the New Rio mega station. So imagine Rio de Janeiro.
I'd like
in-
hate Ashbury if it was a space station.
Yeah. Yeah. So each one of them kind of has their own feel. And currently we're developing some adventure modules, and there's things, this is where I'm going to be a little bit cryptic. There's some things in some of the stations that is happening behind the scenes in the galaxy at large that's a little bit creepy and a little bit screwed up.
I would hope so.
Yeah, like I said, so right now I'm really telling you guys a lot about like the sci-fi aspect.
Yeah.
So the horror aspect, a lot of it comes into it's a lot of it is psychological, because when I think of traveling through space, I think of in that feeling of being infinitesimal and being faced with an expanse so large that your puny human brain can't comprehend that. Everything about it is telling you you're nothing. It's a constant existential crisis. On top of that, it is aside from being underwater, it is the most dangerous environment that you can be in. Any little thing goes wrong. A piece of debris hits your ship in the wrong way. You didn't oil a seal the right way. There's the possibility everybody on that ship is dead. So
We
it is
have
the
a
most
friend,
stressful
game
thing.
creator John Mark
Yeah.
Hicks, and his sort of genre that he goes to is this sort of space horror or underwater horror
Hmm.
for very much the same reasons, because you are a millimeter or two away from certain death.
Yep.
It's not through that door and down the hall. You are always about to die. There's never
Yeah.
a time when you're safe. Which, yeah, when you really take that into account, there is something about space that is just uh, terrifying, and also, like you said, just mentally, the reminder of how inferior you are and how small and meaningless you are, just constantly pressing you from every side.
Yeah, like I suffer from having constant existential crisis. Like I'll be laying awake at night and be like, damn, I'm like my life is a blip. It's a blip of a blip. It's a blip of a blip on a grain of a half a
Yeah,
sand
we're like a
in a
space
big
fart.
thing. Yeah, it's like we're nothing. And I think about that and it freaks me out in
Constantly?
my
Yeah, me
bed
too.
with all of my stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, what would that be like when you're confined and you like, what would it just, when you have this sound of cosmic radiation hitting all around you with the hum of, some sort of like ion engine that's pushing you through and you're traveling at incomprehensible speeds where if you screw up even slightly, a grain of dust could rip through and kill everybody. Like that is the most stressful thing that I've ever thought about. And so I came up with the mechanic of Void Madness, where it's a constant looming threat over the player's head that as you are in space, the more time you spend in space, so how mechanically it's written out, for every month that you spend in uninterrupted space travel, you will gain, it's a 0 to 100% scale. So there's a meter on the character sheet that you track as it goes up. And the game master, or in ours it's called mission commander, so it's the MC. So the MC will let you guys know, hey, you guys have been traveling for a month, 5% increase. But while you are traveling, the more stressful situations that you encounter, both as a crew and individually, will narratively raise your Void Madness meter up and up and up and up and up. And then there's incremental, like from 0 to 35%. You're normal. You are you. You are just stressed. You are in a stressful environment. You're just stressed. Once you get over 35%, there is a role play mechanic to it where you are your character, but you now have to deal with, you have an increased anxiety level. Like you have, and even if your character was anxious, you have an elevated level of anxiety that you are constantly feeling. Once you get over 55%, now it's you have a feeling of paranoia on top of your anxiety. So you now you're more jumpy. You are hearing things. You are thinking people are plotting against you. That is now just something that is happening to you because you've been in this environment for so long and you've gone through these things. Once you get over like 70-ish%, 75%, that's when it starts getting dangerous. Your character is very prone to violent outbursts. Like you're going to be shouting at people, you're going to be arguing with people, you're not going to be the most cooperative person. You might even just push to an extent. At that point you have to think about it, like if your character's sitting at 90%, you should feel like you're about to burst at the seams. If someone pushes you the wrong way, you're taking a swing. Like that's the level that you're at.
Yeah, this is like lock my character in his quarters. That's where you've gotten when you're at 90%. Lock me up before I do something stupid, please, guys. Out of character, please lock me in my room. In character,
exactly.
Okay, get ready for this.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we want. We want that kind of that friction to be building, but we want it to be slow enough that you guys can get along. You could do, and you can see these little changes in people. Be like, hey, you're freaking out a little bit more than you normally do. Are you feeling okay?
That was something I was going to ask. I didn't want to derail you. Is there I saw that there's sort of like jobs are sort of open in this game. You can kind of be any job you want. Is there a class or job or a mechanic that works like a therapist that can bring everybody's panic down while they're on board?
Therapy is actually because there are certain things that can help you mitigate. Like nothing can cure void madness. Things can just mitigate it. So the best way of mitigating it is just locking yourself in cryo. Like if you're gonna be traveling for an extended period of time, one person's awake, you do it in shifts, and the rest of the crew is in cryo. Another thing is there's advanced hollow technology which can simulate life on a planet, which helps slow down the rate of acceleration. Or, you know, your Star Trek like hollow projection kind of room things. If you have a large enough ship, you can do something like that to try to help mitigate. Or therapy, literally having one of the people that are on your crew that has like a high enough medical to like help you talk about that and just do it. Like a lot of it is narratively based, so if you have like a really good RP session at that point, it's gonna help lower your void
Bring
madness.
the tension down a little bit. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, because I wanted people to know that even in the future, talking about your feelings and how you're feeling is what you should do. If you're feeling stressed, you should talk about it. You should take the time to do that. Plus, it gives people a chance to emotionally bond between crewmates because it's going to be very easy to be constantly running and stressed out and like, let's go do the next thing. Let's jump to the next thing. Let's try to just keep going and keep going. Now, take a second and just have that moment where everybody sits down and talks and airs the shit that they have going on. Honestly,
I think it's really
like, tries to
cool
really do that.
the character archetypes like the mercenary or the soldier who are usually kind of stone cold. I like this because it pushes them to be something different, or
Yeah.
to confront why they're being so violent towards their allies when they get to 70% or whatever. I think
Yeah.
that leads to some pretty cool conversations instead of just being the guy who shoots his way through everything and never has to answer for it.
Yeah, yeah, and of course there is when you reach 100%, because there's going to be times where if you're not careful or if you go through enough, or if you are one of those people that because you could completely roleplay it that your character doesn't want to open up, that you are a very guarded. I keep this to myself. I don't want any help from anybody. I will be fine. I've been through enough. You can play that kind of character if you want. But you're going to run the risk of you're going to hit 100%. And when you hit 100%, this is not game over. You're, like you lose your character. You are just now void mad. And as a void mad character, you're now the enemy. People that contract void madness become hyper violent, hyper effective killing machines.
Like the
Who
berserkers
all they wanna
from
do-
Firefly.
Yes, that's actually they were originally called the Reavers as
The
an ode
Reavers,
to
that's
that.
right.
Yeah. I changed it. They now have a different name, but they originally were the Reavers and they were highly influenced by Firefly.
Love that.
One
I
of my
love it.
favorite shows. Yeah, so yeah,
That's
you
really
become
cool.
basically like a Reaver. You hunt down your friends. You're gonna kill anybody that gets in your way, and it's not to the point of because there is death in this game is very final. Like if you're reduced to 0, you're unconscious, but you're not making death saves. It's literally the next thing that hits you kills you, and once you're dead, you're dead. There is no revival technology. There is just you are bleeding out, and something's either gonna save you or something's gonna end you. Those are really your only two options. And as someone who's void mad, you're going for the kill. You're not trying to knock people out. You're trying to kill people. So that's what's ended up happening. So it takes, if you don't maintain your sanity, it's now PvP. Now all of your friends are fighting you. And as you're hunting your friends down, you are increasing their void madness. So you
And
might
then you can be a crew of Reavers together.
exactly. Yeah.
Reavers do create other Reavers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So is this a mostly you said that it's very narrative, but there's also some game mechanics. What kind of system are you using here?
So this is it's pretty crunchy. I like to say like a lot of things are pretty narrative, but it's a pretty crunchy system.
Okay.
It's a 2d6 system
Okay.
with explosions on 6. and it is to a threshold mechanic instead of like when you're attacking someone or trying to accomplish a task, there is a threshold set. The number that you're like, let's just say you're trying to do something that's pretty difficult. There'll be a threshold of like 15 set. So you have your 2d6 plus your skill bonus or stat bonus, depending on what the actual thing is. You're rolling that, trying to hit a 15 for a success. Now, if you miss it by 3, you now have a near success, which is you did it, but you didn't do it as well as you wanted to do it. Then over 3, so if you hit a 15, 16, or 17, that's just a regular success. 17 or over, or once you get over 17, so 18 or over, you have a vital success. So it is the greatest possible thing that can ever happen. In terms of attacking, you're doing damage and a half. So that's how the dice are used. We did also the first couple times we played it, we're like, all right, this is easy to do to an extent. Or it's not easy to do, but it's possible to an extent. We're like, but you're really kind of banking on your dice. What we call it overloading, because I wanted to change the word. I didn't want to call it explosion because explosions are bad in space.
Yeah.
But we're like, overloading sounds sci-fi. There we go. There's the term. So like you're kind of banking on overloads depending on what you're doing. So we did create a mechanic where you do have, if you do roll a 6 and you don't need it, or you don't want to use it, you can actually pocket it to use in the future for another roll. So you do have like a dice pool that you can pull from to help you out. You can also, we do have it in there in the MC guide section, where it says, that's how you reward players for good play. So kind of like our version of inspiration is giving players dice towards their overload pool to help them out. So we have that. And as far as like things like combat go, I wanted it to move very, very quickly. I didn't want everybody rolling for every single thing. And a friend of mine helped me actually come up with how combat works. So how it is everybody has their damage threshold. So that's set based off of, your stats plus your armor. So everyone's rolling to try to hit that. For initiative, it is initiative based. But instead of rolling for initiative, every single character has what's known as a combat acuity, which is how good you are when shit hits the fan. So it's basically your movement plus your athleticism plus your intellect, so that it's how quick are you, how fit are you, and how quickly does your brain move. A combination of those 3 things are how quickly you'll act at a moment. So once you've done combat 1 or 2 times, you're going to know what the CA is for every single one of your party. So it's just going to go through. It's not just going around the table, but it is going in a set order at that point.
I'll tell you why I really like that initiative system. I was in law enforcement for years before I was not. And it was called the OODA. The OODA loop is what we called it. Observe, orient, decide, and act. And, dexterity being, sure, you're quick, but that doesn't mean anything. You still have to observe and orient and decide. You still need your intelligence. You still need your athletics. So I really like that you put all 3 in there. I think that's cool. And then also
I have to actually tip my hat to my co-designer on that one. That was his input. Yeah.
Yeah, really, that means like a very tactical player that's just all intelligence could still roll really high, just because they are an intelligence dump. They could be so smart that they're faster than everybody, and I like that too.
Yeah, I think it's cool too.
Yeah, we didn't want people to feel punished for not being like, I made sure I didn't want to be athletic, and we didn't want you to feel punished that it was just based off of that.
Yeah.
Because that's not, as you said, that's not all that goes into
It's not how real life
a situation. Yeah. Yeah. And I tried to keep it as close to, at least if I could add a mechanic to how the real world works, that's what I tried to do with it.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing with damage. We do a fixed damage system in this where every weapon has an amount of damage that it does. Because we're using firearms for the most part. A bullet's a bullet. If you're using a knife, a blade is a blade. It's going to do damage when it hits, and it's going to be the same. What's going to matter is how well do you hit. If you get a near success, that's a glancing hit. That means you still damage the person. It's just not as good, so it's half. If you really stick someone, you get a vital strike, it does a damage and a half because it was about your aim. It's about your precision, not about just what weapon you have.
Makes sense. So damage is based on success threshold. That's cool. I like that. That's different. Yeah, and then the initiative is really good too. Rolling initiative is it's exciting and it's kind of iconic, but I feel like it's a little overrated. It's nice to just, because like a lot of times you just want to get right into it, and it kind of slows down the start of combat. You know, I feel like it's more exciting to just dive right in.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing for at least combat, because everybody loves combat. So that's why anytime I talk about the game, I always open with combat because that's what everybody wants to hear. But another thing with combat is I'm a big fan of JRPGs. Like I grew up playing like Final Fantasy. That was my jam. So I wanted to bring that feeling of a JRPG, that turn-based, but I wanted to do it in a way that made sense. So how combat starts is narratively. It is whoever says, I pull out my gun and I shoot him. You did that. So that's what's going to happen. Your side, seeing you do that, is going to react faster. So now your crew is the attacking turn. So there's whoever makes the decision to attack first, whether you do it or an enemy does it, they're the ones going first in combat. You'll go through your CA order, and then it'll go to the opposing side. They'll start acting. What I also built into it is a mechanic called momentum of combat, where whatever the combined life total was at the beginning of that encounter, when you get to half of it, either the players or the enemies, there is a roll where the MC will roll for enemies, and the players can decide whoever's rolling hot, that's who you want rolling that time. We'll do a roll where it's just 2d6. Whoever rolls higher, it then could possibly switch the momentum of combat. So if somebody was a defender and they win the roll, they now have rallied, and now they were losing, or they were on the defensive. Now they have rallied a little bit. They're going to attack a little bit harder. They're now the attacking roll. After the momentum roll, it goes to the attacking. So if, let's just say you hit that half for a defender and the defender rallies, they win the momentum, they now are having 2 turns back to back, which could be very bad for you then if you were the attacker. So yeah, it gives a little bit of dynamicness, and there's still like that it's almost like bullet time. That's how I've explained it to some people, where it's someone got hit and it was that one hit over, and it's almost like everything slowed down, and then it's, what am I going to do in this moment? Am I gonna keep crumbling, or am I going to rally? And it's that exact second, and then things change, and now it's it could be a whole completely different encounter then at that point.
You did mention something earlier that stuck out to me. You said that some ships, depending on their size, might have, habitation modulators, things like that look, what is their ship customization? That leads me to believe there's ship customization, and I love ship customization.
Yes, there is ship customization. There are 4 sizes of ships. You have clippers, being your small, nimble, fast ships. Cruisers, being your Millennium Falcon, Serenity type ships. You have corvettes, being your very, very large ships. And then frigates, being your insane, like aircraft carrier style ships.
2,000-person staff, Star Trek kind of ship.
Yeah, exactly. So you have these different ones, and part of the MC guide also in the player guide, In your session 0, what you're going to do is you're going to get together and based off of the tone of the campaign, you're going to sit down with your MC and you're going to design your ship. You're going to create the ship that your crew is going to be traveling on. Whether how you get that ship is up to you. Some campaigns might start that you're already on the ship, that you are an established crew, and you are going to be doing your missions. Or it might be that you are just a bunch of ragtag schmucks that ran into each other, are going the same direction, and now you have to get off of a station really quickly. You got to steal a ship. The ship that you steal is going to be the ship that you and your MC have collectively, you guys have put your input into it. You've named it. You've said what you want it to look like, and you've kind of picked all of the things that it's going to be able to do. We're still currently, like I said, we're in like the alpha stage right now of the game. We're at the point where we're trying to build kind of like modules and stuff to add in to the ship, like things that have like a tangible credit amount, and like a gameplay loop back on how much they do and things like that. But we want it to be that because your ship is your home, and you don't just get handed a home. Like you have to pick a home to put a bid on. So we want it to be that you have input on what it has. But an MC, if
we took a look at a game called Wild Sea, and the setting was like that, it was on top of a giant forest and things like that, but the building of ship that cut through the trees was part of the thing. And so I think the way it was set out was every team member got to put a module on the ship. You just got to pick one, and then you agreed on one as a team. And that worked really well, I thought, for us, just like you're saying. You're not handed a home. You get to build it. Everybody gets their input. Yeah. So everyone has their sort of room where they get to want to hang out, or they pick a room that has more of a mechanical use, something that actually increases speed. But, if you just want a cool room with a bunch of spiders in it, you can have that too. So there were some cool ideas in that book that sort of, they were doing the same thing, and I thought in a really fun, interesting way.
Yeah, I forgot the term they used, but the players were given a resource that you could only use in ship creation at the beginning of the game, and each module costs a certain amount of that, and everybody could kind of discuss, but at the end of the day, you had final say on what you spent yours on. So,
yeah. Honestly, I love that idea. I might have to adapt it, but yeah. So we're still trying to get like the exact customization of the ships down, but we do have at least like size and what each ship like is like life wise, damage threshold wise, shield wise, number of hard points wise, which are like your weapons and defenses. So we have a lot of that done, but we haven't done all of it yet. We're still in that last refining, I'd say like 35-45% of the game right now.
It's exciting. So a couple follow-ups on that. What's your roadmap look like? What's your time frame that you're thinking? Do you have one? Where are you going with your publishing and your funding? Like, what's your thoughts? Should you crowdfunding or?
That's the hope.
Okay.
I'm not rich. I wish I was. Really, really wish I was. But I'm not rich. Neither are any of the people that are helping me out.
We are all millennials here, and none of us are rich, and we probably never will be, and never own property.
Depressingly, yes. But
that's right.
So
I like the place I rent.
Yeah, hey, as long as it works, right? It's 4 walls and a roof. But yeah, so none of us really have the money to like just be able to do this. So we are anticipating doing like Kickstarter,
cool.
Or any one of the crowdfunding. We threw it up on the website that it was going to be 2024 that the Kickstarter was going to happen. I get the final say in that. It's really when I feel like the game is ready to show, and is when it's going to happen. I'm thinking, like, if we continue going at the rate that we've been going of getting mechanics down, we just got an artist, and the artist is amazing. Chris Ouellette. Yeah, we have some of his stuff on our Instagram. So check us out, Void Madness ttrpg on Instagram. But yeah, his Chris Olet, CJOLET is his Instagram. You can see kind of his style. Amazing. Our newsletter actually is going to be, he just did our cover. Like, it's going to be our main kind of like, it's going to be the cover, but it's also going to be kind of like our main advertising image. So he just did that. It's incredible. And we're going to be putting that out in the newsletter. So anybody that signs up for the newsletter will be able to see. It'll be coming out within the next couple of days. So if anybody wants to do that, voidmadness.com, just go to join and follow, sign up for our newsletter, and you'll be able to see the artwork for the cover. But yeah, so he's really, really great. He's really, really fast on top of that. So he's ready to start cranking out art as we give him stuff. So if we can get the art done and the mechanics done, I'm hoping fourth quarter of 2024. I'd like to, we're also trying to build awareness of it. I want to make sure that there's a lot of people interested in it before I do this, because it would suck to go through all of this and then have a couple people do it and then it doesn't get funded and then I'm back at square one.
I believe it was the DoorDash CEO who said that they launched 3 times, and each launch was more successful than the last. So yeah, definitely build that hype profile and then launch. But don't be afraid to launch 3 times, man. Sometimes that's what you have to do. If DoorDash did it, that's a household name now. So it's okay. It's okay if you have to launch a bunch, but that's right. Build all that recognition, get people thirsty for it first, and there's no way to better do that than just absolutely dope art. I went straight to the website and signed up. I can't wait to see the artwork you have.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, so, I would like, because we went to PAX Unplugged this year.
Nice.
Just as attendees. And we were talking a little bit beforehand. I walked around, I talked to some amazing developers. And that's something that now that it's weird to say now that I'm an indie creator, because I never thought that that's what I was ever going to be. But now that I am an indie creator, I never understood how just welcoming the space is, like just how welcoming the community is.
They're real nice.
Yeah, so amazing. Like, the people are so nice. They're so open to just being like, this is what we did. This is what worked for us. Oh, check these people out. They can help you out with, finding publishing and marketing and things like that. It was incredible.
Yeah, the competition in this industry is not competitive. They're very helpful.
Yeah.
It's not a competitive industry at all, but it is, right? Everybody's making TTRPGs. There's a ton of books, and you would think that people would be jerks about it, but they're not. Everybody's trying to help everybody else. Everybody just wants to write more, create more, get more stories out there. Yeah. Nobody wants to keep anybody else's work down, which is totally awesome. Everybody wants to see your book, and they want to see your next book too. Everybody's so interested in this community.
The level of excitement that people had just off my elevator pitch of things, people got so excited. They're like, I cannot wait to see what you do. They're like, here's my card. Email me if you have any questions. If you need any help, I'll be more than happy to help you out. So we would love to, if we can get everything together, get a booth next year at PAX Unplugged, because luckily PAX Unplugged is in Pennsylvania and that's where I'm at, so it's perfect. Don't even got to go very far. I can commute every day to Philly. I wouldn't like it, but I could do it. But yeah, so we would love to have a booth at PAX and then launch the Kickstarter either at PAX or right after it. That is perfect world. Is that going to happen? I don't know. But that is in my dream scenario what it would be.
It's a good goal. I'd like to go next year, so maybe I'll see you. But man, that's exciting.
We'd love to see you.
That's exciting. It's a very welcoming community. After this, I'll talk to you, and I know some people that do Kickstarter and stuff, so we can workshop some things. But hey, it sounds like you're in a great spot.
I had one more question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
You said that Firefly was a big inspiration. What other TV shows or movies or media do you think inspired you to make this particular system?
Big inspirations were, so Firefly was my biggest one. I've always been a fan of like the old school, and this is going to seem so out of left field. Those old school radio dramas, like those sci-fi, like everybody speaking in a transatlantic accent, and all the ships are pointed, and they have glass domes, and everybody's in the big glass helmets.
50s, some 50s classic sci-fi stuff. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that also influenced me a lot, at least aesthetic wise. Like I always picture it kind of in that sort of aesthetic. And then Aliens and Alien and Aliens were huge in getting just the overall kind of feel for the horror that I wanted, as well as weirdly like Leviathan, which I think that movie takes place underwater, but it's like just the feel of it is kind of also
underwater
something that
space. It's pretty similar.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that also influenced me a lot. The whole, kind of like the Thing, where it's like you don't know who to trust. And then Dead Space. Dead Space also really influenced.
Heck yeah.
And Mass Effect. Mass Effect has its hands in so much of this book.
Love Mass Effect.
I just replayed the Legendary Edition and beat it. So I've now beat the first 3 twice, and then I've also beat Andromeda. So I love Mass Effect. So that has its hands in a lot of the game. Those are probably my biggest influences. So Firefly, Alien, Aliens, just 50s sci-fi aesthetic, and then like Leviathan and The Thing. Honestly, is that too, and Mass Effect and Dead Space.
Horizon. That's the one I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
I got big time Event Horizon vibes. It's like, yeah, as soon as this madness starts creeping in, because it is almost a supernatural madness. It is this effect that space has that we, as Earthlings, don't know what the void madness is. But it is Event Horizon is the void madness.
Yeah, it is. I will say, when I was creating Void Madness, I did. Event Horizon is one of. I rewatched it. Doesn't hold up quite as great.
What a bummer.
It's we and in one of our shows we have a series called Horror So Bad It's Good, and we talked about Event Horizon. Just
man, I want to do that.
Hey, next time we do one, I would love to have you guys on.
John's also a resident zombie head. He knows everything zombie.
Oh, so
I'm a little obsessed. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
I'll email you guys next time we're doing another Horror So Bad It's Good, and we'll get you on and we'll talk about it. But yeah, we did talk about Event Horizon, and that it always slips my mind when I talk about like my inspirations. But yeah, that when it comes to the madness in particular, just everybody's descent and how it was affecting them differently and at different speeds and in different ways. And how, depending on how affected you were kind of at different levels. That did go a lot into
and everyone's
just void madness and
feeding each other's madness. It's Event Horizon's one of those ones where everyone's crazy takes everybody else's crazy up a notch. Yeah. So you take that and then you throw some xenomorphs into the mix. Yeah, you've got a good game cooking. I like what we're looking at here. Plus, you could turn into a Ravager, so it's the best of all 3 worlds.
Yeah,
like a Neapolitan sci-fi treat.
Pandorum also had some interesting madness stuff going on with that, but there's a lot in the genre. So we got your inspirations. This game. So when we're playing, I know obviously it's ttrpg, you can do whatever you want, but what kind of missions, what kind of like questing, what kind of like quests do you view people going on in this? Like what do you imagine a typical Void Madness story to comprise of?
So how I kind of have it detailed and outlined in, I think I got it in the book so far. My manuscript has been all over the place. I apologize. I sent it to you guys. I'm sorry if it's difficult to follow. We're trying to organize it a little bit more right now. But it's a lot of the stuff was free form. It was just as it was flowing into my head, and I've tried to go back and organize it as much as possible.
You'll never be afterwards done with layout. Ever. You'll never be done with it, and you'll never be happy with it.
It's
You'll just get to a point where
But I have it written down somewhere that how it is, it's because I always describe Void Madness because games like Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and things like that, it are stories about heroes. Like that's what it is. You're playing that game because you want to get to those high levels and you want to be that mythical hero. That's not Void Madness. Void Madness is regular ass people trying to do their job in an environment that is not conducive for that. So whether your job is shipping, whether your job is mercenary work, whether your job is you raise space bees and you sell their honey, no matter what it is, like that's just what you're trying to do. And there is an infinite amount of terrible in your way. So how a normal adventure goes, at least in my mind and how I have it written down, is there's the introduction. So there is what you're trying to do. Then there is shit hits the fan. Something makes your life more difficult. Then there is that resolution. And then it is what's my next step? Because just because you finished, that's just one day in your life or 1 week in your life. That was just, you did your job. You had a job, something interrupted it. You finally finished it. Well, you got another job to do right afterwards because that's how life is. You work until you die. in our world and in this world, you're going to constantly be moving forward. And each character's motivations are going to be their own, but for the most part, everybody needs to live. Everybody needs credits to live. Everybody needs a place to live. Everybody needs something to do. So you're going to keep doing that. And so it is more of like how I have it in my head and how I always describe it is episodic. It's like a TV show. So you're going to have episodes. So each one of your adventures is going to be like an episode. Now there could be, like how it is in TV, an over arc that might be playing through every single one of those. And that could be one major theme of your campaign, but it is very episodic. There is going to be a beginning, middle, and end. It's going to, if you're the MC, it's going to get shot to shit by your players' decisions. You have an almost infinite amount of directions to go in, but you're going to be going until you can either accomplish your job or you all die. And so, yeah, so that's kind of how every adventure will happen. Like you're going to start the day. You're going to start your thing with, this is what you have to do. This is what you're trying to do. And then something is going to come up along the way. We have tools to try to help that also.
That obviously changes from what kind of ship you have to what kind of crew members you have to what sort of flavor you've decided to run before you even started your game. Because obviously a giant ship with 2,000 people will be up to some very different operations than, say, a 3 or 5 person ship.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're on a frigate and you work for the Federation, you are part of their exploratory unit, and you're going out. You're trying to go into the void, and you're trying to find new things. That's not something you're going to do on a clipper. On a clipper, you're like a courier, and you're just trying to go planet to planet. There's no going off into the uncharted. So yeah, it is going to really vary depending on that, which is why I put an emphasis on Session 0.
Those would be totally different mission point contacts too, right? If you're in a Federation ship, obviously they could call you and tell you, here's what you need to do. But if you're on a 3-person ship, you might need to go somewhere and drum up some work. They may not be looking for you, and they may not want to hire you in the first place. So it's a whole different feel of the game. I was noticing that in the very beginning, where it was just like, yo, you pick your background and you pick your job. I was like, oh, okay, you go anywhere. Your game master's ready to tell you any kind of space story here.
Exactly. And that's actually the reason why I wanted to put so much emphasis on Session 0, because it's in this game in particular, it's a very important conversation that you need to have, because most games, you can do almost anything that you want and you're on a planet. In this one, you have a galaxy to choose from. And like we said, human beings are so tiny that grasping the size of the galaxy is mind-boggling. So just take the infinite the infinite choices that you could have of a single planet setting and multiply it. And it gets insane. So you need that pre-session discussion to be like, hey, what are you guys comfortable doing? Like, what do you want to accomplish? Actually, since sending you guys the manuscript, we have actually added a little more things to try to help round out and define what characters are. It's kind of like the background system in D&D, but I like it, but I'm not a fan of that too much. I like, and this is how I make all of my characters. I always try to answer a question. So I was like, why don't I just what I do? Why don't I just put that in the book? So what I have now is for your background, it is so your backstory is basically like you can make it whatever you want, but to try to figure out who you are as a character, you want to answer 3 questions. Well, it's 4, but 2 of them are the same. It's where, what, and how. And it's where am I from? So what is your kind of like background? Are you a Federation brat where your family was in the Federation? You're a military brat. You're bouncing from station to station. So you're used to picking up and you've seen a lot more of the galaxy than the average person has. Are you a new soul settler where your family escaped Earth, settled on a planet, and that's where they've been? They've had a pretty boring life, and that was your childhood. Your childhood was in one place. So basically answering the question of, where am I from? And then there is 2 questions of what. It's what made me who I am. Because me and my co-developer, who unfortunately wasn't able to join me, but we're big on, and we always talk about it, we're like core memories. We're like, something happened, it's a core memory. When you look back on your life, you go, that thing influenced a lot of things. So what are the things that made me who I am? There is a youth event and an adult event. There is something happened to me when I was a kid that helped form my personality into what it is. And something happened to me as an adult that also helped form me into the person that I am. And then the last question is how. It's how do I want to be remembered? When I'm dead, what do I want people to remember me for? And you could choose something like wealth. Like, I want to be remembered for being rich. I want to be remembered for being powerful. I want to be remembered for changing the world for a better. I want to be remembered by just having a really good group of friends and family. So I think by answering those questions, you get like a really good sense of at least what your character's looking to get out of the game. And hopefully if you have enough characters that are kind of on the same page, it makes it a little bit easier for the MC to construct adventures that kind of work and can meld through and kind of interweave through everything that they're doing.
Just that way of creating a character and answering those questions. No wonder you need to have a session 0. That'll just make somebody have a mental breakdown answering those questions about themselves.
Yeah.
What thing influenced me in my youth, my adulthood, and what legacy do I want to leave? People will just be frozen at the table, just lost in thought.
Yeah. And I did try to make it easy. We actually have, you can always make your own. Like, it's, like any game, you want to be able to just say, I want to have custom. I want to check custom on the box. I want to do whatever I want. So you can do that. But for people that are maybe new, especially since it's going to be a new game, people aren't really used to it, or people that are not really like experienced role players, I wanted to make sure that they had something to just guide them. So there is tables in the book that you can either select from or roll on if you're feeling lucky, to pick from those. You can, each one has between 6 and 12 different options. So you can get a whole bunch of different combinations just by using the stuff that's going to be in the book.
Love tables. Tables are great, even just to help give you some flavor, some influence, to help you know where your mind is at. Even if I don't want to pick something off the table, I at least like having to look at a few options to say, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Love it.
Yeah.
The more tables,
it's like
the better.
Examples. Yeah. You could use it completely as a guide if you want to. And I've taken, like, I'm also a big fan of tables. I did programming for a while. I did database programming in particular. So tables were my friend.
Bro, like 75% of tabletop role-playing games are having tables sorted in good spots. That's like 3/4 of the game.
Yeah. So I made sure that I have a table for really to help the person who's running the game. Because once again, there is so many places that your players can take you. I wanted to have something that they can quickly just be like, oh shit, and just roll some dice and put something together. So we have a table for, so there's the tables for character creation for answering the where, what, and how. We have tables for creating encounters. So there's tables that you can roll on to just have things happen. It can be as simple as, you guys went through a debris field, that just happened, or it could be as complex as you guys got an emergency beacon. You want to go check it out, or do you not want to go check it out? And if they say, yeah, I want to go check it out, there's another table to roll on that to figure out what the emergency beacon's about. And you can build whole adventures just off of these tables if you really wanted to. And then we of course have one for creating your own monsters and alien creatures. We have that for creating random planets that people might stumble upon. Doing it that way, trying to have the level of desolation, the level of the climate, the amount of atmosphere. What the weather is kind of like on there, how developed it is. We have tables that you can roll on that just in case your players are like, hey, I just kind of want to go in that direction. And you're like, there's nothing in that direction. They're like, okay, well, I just want to keep going in that direction until I find something. You can roll on the table, put together a whole planet that they can land on and explore if they want to. So we tried to do that for, just because it is a big galaxy out there.
No, I mean, that's very good. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty chunky book. It's going to have some heft to it, huh? It's going to be jam-packed.
Yeah. Currently, in its manuscript form, it's at 145 pages. I don't know if everything is going to be in one book. We might end up separating some stuff out. Right now, we know that at least how it's going to end up being when it goes to Kickstarter right now, if nothing changes, there's going to be the core book and the Dangers of the Void book, which is going to be basically like your monster manual, where we'll have a whole bunch of pre-made creatures that you can drop in and be able to use, and some stat blocks for everybody. Yeah, so we want to have at least those two.
Create a creature from scratch.
Yeah. So we want to have at least those two, but we might end up taking a lot of like the lore. Because the lore is expanding at an insane rate. Plus also every single one of the planets. Take all the planets, stations, and lore and put that in a separate book. That's something that we're tooling around. I got to really see the end page count once I have it all laid out, which we've started doing the actual layout with like art blocked out and stuff.
Really the best way to do that is to keep like three of each, or keep four of each, and save some of your other ones for later content. They're already created, they're already done. You got half the work done in the future. Because the players really need 12 planets fully fleshed out to go to. Probably not, maybe 3 or 4, and the game master might take some liberties on a couple. But man, I could bounce back and forth between 3 or 4 planets and 3 or 4 space stations for weeks and weeks and weeks, and never get bored of the content.
Yeah, and that's kind of where, like, because I told my partner that I was like, I can keep cranking planets out. He's like, I think you should stop. So
I can just look at me go.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm just gonna throw out. I'm gonna throw out a weather. I'm gonna throw out a thing. I'm gonna have a random thought that pops into my head, and like, so he was like, I think 23 is pretty freaking good.
23 is a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was like, honestly, how frequently do you think people are going to do this? And I was like, it's depending on the campaign. I'm like, if people are like explorers, a lot. I'm like, people are just going to bounce from planet to planet to planet. If people are mercenaries, probably a lot. They're going to bounce from planet to planet to planet. Yeah. Very easily an entire campaign can take place on one planet. It can take place just in the core 5 worlds. There's a lot of shady shit going on just in the new Sol system. There's a lot of, like the corporations that exist. Not all of them are very nice. And they're all operating in your core worlds. So a lot of people can just spend their entire time playing and never even leave the human system to explore what's out there. But I wanted to make sure that if people did choose to be like, I don't want to be here anymore, I want to go out and I want to see what else is out there, I wanted to have very unique worlds out there. And I'd like to think that some of the ones that we came up with are pretty damn unique.
Yeah.
So we try to make sure that they stood out.
You can always add them as stretch goals and stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But no, it sounds like there's a lot going on with this. I look forward to playing it. I do believe you were saying we should do a actual play sometime, so we look forward to that.
I would love that.
Gary, you got any more questions?
No, sir. That's through my list of questions. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty hyped for it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I
Thank you.
haven't gone to the website and signed up, so you know I'm not messing around.
We appreciate that.
Jared, like, if there's anything else you want to say, feel free. Like, take as much time as you want. If there's any other points of the game that you feel should be highlighted or anything you didn't quite get through.
Not really. I mean, I feel like I rambled a lot about everything that was in it. We're in the early alpha right now, so the state that the game's in might not be the state that it is when it releases. But we're looking for people to help us figure out and really tweak and fine tune it. So if you are interested in playtesting it, you can once again sign up on the website voidmadness.com, or you can email us directly at voidmadnessttrpg@gmail.com, and just say I would like to playtest, and I will forward you all the necessary things to do that. And of course, follow us on Facebook. Facebook, we are at Void Madness, and on Instagram, we are Void Madness TTRPG. Give us a follow. We're just, we want to make, if I do something, I want to do it well. So I want to put something out there that people are going to enjoy, as much as I've enjoyed making it. So, yeah, definitely give us a follow. I would love to get this in front of as many people as possible.
Hey, Jahan, if it's session 0, what are you playing?
Session 0, what am I playing in their game?
Yeah, what are you playing? What's your first character?
Yeah, let's see this. Huh?
I didn't see that. What are the classes? Give me a class.
Okay.
You can.
Any job that you can think
Oh,
of.
literally any job.
Yeah,
Any job that you can think of.
Probably a
There's like
scientist.
20 examples, but he wasn't kidding when he said you could be a space beekeeper. I mean, there are examples, but you can be.
That's on the list.
I probably want to be a scientist of some kind for sure.
Some kind of science guy. I think I want to be like a pig guy. Like a crossbred human pig guy.
Okay.
I want to be a pig guy whose family was in organized crime, but now my guy's in like shipping. I'm trying not to be in organized crime, but no matter where we go, I keep getting pulled back into this crap because I'm a pig guy, and it's pretty obvious who I'm related to.
I want to be a scientist
Love
in Alien and like have to do stuff I don't want to for the company. It'll be fun.
Oh, nice and gross. You have to breed some xenos in your lab?
Yeah, something. Yeah, take them back. Take back inseminated human bodies. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I love breeding aliens on our ship without anyone else knowing while we're going through space madness seems like a fantastic character.
It's a terrible idea, but yeah.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this combination. I can just see you with that CD background, kind of being just the person that's steering the ship. Be like, I know where to go. I know the places to get around, and you're the one that's making some really shady shit that probably shouldn't be getting shipped. That you're
really
dropping
good
off at places. Yep.
Yeah, I have to handle the stuff that you're growing, and I don't know what the hell you're.
Yeah, there's going to be
breeding
22
life
planets soon. It's going to be
the lost planet. It's overrun. That's our fault.
Whoops.
Love it.
I'm gonna break one of your planets in the playtest on accident.
Yeah,
Hey,
I find
honestly, it'll save me some paper. I'm good with it.
I also find my constant existential terror causes me to go dark when it comes to TTRPGs. So I'm right there with you, pal. But yeah, no, it was great to hear about all this. Great to talk to you. Voidmadness.com or voidmadnessttrpg@gmail.com. Don't forget to sign up. Check things out. Coming soon to a crowdfunding near you. This has been Fresh Out the Box presents Void Madness. I have been the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jahananan.
It's me, Casualty CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Box, and also Fresh Out the Podcast. If you like movies, video games, and streaming shows. Check out Fresh Out the Podcast. Available where all podcasts are available. We have like 115 or whatever episodes. It's a bunch. You'll like it. It's a bunch of stuff, and you like stuff. Otherwise, we play tabletop role-playing games on Thursdays and Fridays. Thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate your support.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Stay fresh, everybody.